Hello, everyone. My name is Tiffany Mills Howell. I am a licensed clinical mental health counselor and personal and professional development presenter. Today's topic for this webinar is Child Behavior Improvement Starts with Family Improvement. I've been asked to speak on this topic of child behavior, but for me, when I look at the whole picture, a child's behavior starts with the family. So that's where we'll start today. Let's start with the 4 tips of building a strong family foundation. Number 1, be consistent. Number 2, listen and look. Number 3, lead by example. And number 4, provide boundaries and structure. Be consistent. In this one, we want to make sure that we make our expectations known and make sure they are clear. Whether it's the expectation of the children or the teenagers, or whether it's the expectation of the parents. Everyone knows what they're expected to do, what time they're expected to come in for a curfew, what chores they're expected to complete, and making sure that each parent or each guardian or each adult, if it's more than one in the home, is on the same page, because that can cause a lot of conflict if both individuals are not on the same page and both individuals don't uphold that consistency. So, whether it's for a parent or whether it's for a child, be consistent, stay consistent. Listen and look. When I think about this tip, I think about the statement actions speak louder than words. I think about my almost 2-year old saying no when we ask him if he wants something, but his hand being out reaching for that thing. His actions say one thing, but his words say something else. So, as his parent, as an adult, I have to look and see, okay, I see the actions, I hear the words, but now I have to interpret what he really wants because he doesn't know how to effectively communicate right now. So being able to look at both of those things is very important. Kids are honest. Kids are honest to a fault. So a lot of times when they're younger, they're going to tell you what they think. They're going to tell you their emotions and their feelings. But when they're in a place where they feel like they're being judged and they feel that fear, that's when they become dishonest because they fear something or they're afraid that somebody's going to judge them. They're not taught that it's okay to say this thing. You may upset someone, but you're telling the truth and I'm listening to you. And that's a lot of times where when teenagers become teenagers, they've learned that I fear this person or I fear judgment, so I'm not going to tell the truth. And really, the simplest solution to that is effective communication, starting early with looking and with listening to our children and teaching them that we're looking, we're listening. Some of the things that we see, some of the things that you say may not be appropriate, or we may have an issue with it, but let's talk about it. Let's discuss those things so that you won't grow up being fearful and saying one thing but meaning another and holding back. Lead by example. So, how many of us have ever heard someone say, do as I say and not as I do? I'm pretty sure a lot of us have heard that before. So, what does that say? I want to be an example for you, and I want you to do the things that I do, but I don't want you to do everything that I do. But I still want to be a good example, so do some things, but don't do other things. That's confusing. That's confusing for me even saying it or trying to say it right now. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be confusing for a child who hasn't really developed yet in their mind to say, okay, You're leading by example, but you're telling me not to do something sometimes that you do, but to do other things. And I can't figure out which one of those things I'm supposed to do and which one of those things I'm not supposed to do. So, what if we just say, I'm not perfect and I won't always get everything right, but I'm going to try my best and admit when we're wrong. I believe that a lot of adults have an issue with admitting when they're wrong because of embarrassment, because of whatever reason. I don't know if adults feel like we want to always be right, or we don't want our children or our family members to see that we're not perfect. I'm not sure what it is, but I think admitting that we're not always right works out better for us than not admitting it and confusing children on what they should and shouldn't be doing. So we're working on ourselves to be an example for them so that they can work on themselves. Provide boundaries and structure. Every child, every person needs some type of boundaries and structure put in place in order for them to be successful in life. So let's start with this statement. We can't change the past, but we can learn from it and move forward. That's a statement that I encourage a lot of parents who have teenagers or who have older children to say, because you can't change the past. Things have happened. We weren't happy with them, but we want to be able to move forward. Why? Because maybe we didn't provide those boundaries and put that structure in when they were younger. When I was working as an intensive in-home leader, that would be one of the things that would come out of our conversation after I went to the home and I heard the parents say how bad this child was, how their behaviors were, they've done this, they've done that, they've da 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 da. All these things. They will paint this horrible picture of these children. And then I would ask, well, growing up, did you have rules in place? Did you have boundaries? Did you have structure? And a lot of times they didn't have those things, whether they were a family with two parents, whether they were single parents, whether they were a blended family, they didn't have those things in place. So, since they didn't have those things in place, the child just grew up doing whatever they wanted to do, whenever they wanted to do it. And then when they became a teenager, the parents then wanted to put the boundaries and the structure in place. And by that time, they're like, why? Why do you want to do it now? It's like a punishment now for you to do it when really, as a family, we should have started those things before now. We should have already put those things in place. So, those are the things that I have come upon in my career working with families and working with children is that adults don't start off with putting those boundaries and that structure in place. And then it can affect the family, the whole family in the long run. I've also come into situations where the structure and the boundaries weren't put in place until maybe the dad or the mom started dating somebody and then they brought somebody else, within the home that they maybe eventually married or that they were in a relationship with. And then that structure or those boundaries are put in place. So then the child thinks, oh, well, they weren't put here before. And in their mind, they're thinking that since this other person has come in, now their parents are being brand new. So then you can start seeing some of the behaviors. I've been in houses where the parents or the adults say, well, I grew up in an environment where my parents were really strict and I didn't want to be like that with my child. So I took the whole opposite approach. I just let them be free to be them. And Now they're in a place where this kid is really free and doing any and everything, and they can't figure out why. So, in all of these situations, I come in and I say, hey, let's develop this plan. Let's develop this plan of responsibilities. Let's develop this plan with rules. And let's develop this plan with consequences. Because we all need boundaries and structure. We need these things as a child, we need these things as a teenager, and we need these things in our lives as adults. What can we do as a whole family to put these things in place for everyone in the family? Not just the child, but for everyone in the family. Plan details. So this is where the work comes in. This is where we sit down as a family, we get some paper and pencil or a pen, or we can get a computer and go ahead and type it up. Whatever you may use, you sit down and you look at these plan details of what are we going to do in order to move our family forward together. It doesn't matter what the behaviors were of the individuals before. We want to move forward. So let's start with the responsibilities. Coming up with the list of what are the parents responsible for? What are the adults responsible for? Whether they're just responsible for going to work, um, being able to provide a house, roof over the child's head, clothes, food, what are their responsibilities? Then looking at the responsibilities of the children. Are they responsible for going to school, making sure they're getting good grades, if they're having issues, making sure they're coming to their parents and talking to their parents about the issues that they're having in school or issues that they're having with other people. So, what are the responsibilities of each individual within the home? The next thing, expectations. What are the expectations of this family unit? Do we have rules in place? Chore charts? What type of conversations do we have going on? What is expected as far as family time? Are we spending time together once a month, once a week? As parents, are we having date nights? As a whole family, are we having trips during the summertime? Open communication. What's the expectation for the communication? Can I communicate openly with my child or with my parent? What's that expectation look like? Do I have an open door policy? So we have to sit down and write out those expectations because I can hear it all day long. But when I actually see it on paper, it might click for me a little better. One of the things or activities that one of my colleagues discussed before with me when it comes to rules and children, younger children like to be involved. Not saying that older children or teenagers don't like to be involved, but if you can get them involved with their young when they're younger, then it really helps as they grow. But as far as rules, getting some paper or getting some board and allowing that child to write down the rules as you go through them, allowing that child to give their input on the rules because they've heard them before most of the time. They're just not written down, so they know what they are, but they may need to write them down, write those rules down. If they can't write or spell, be able to draw something where it brings back to their memory what that rule is and put those rules up somewhere that they can see them, somewhere eye level where they can see those rules throughout the day. And when they break a rule, going and taking them to those rules and saying, hey, which one of these were you not supposed to do, but you did anyway? And letting them see, okay, I have that consistency in there. I put that structure in there. And so they're really serious about this thing. This really is a rule. And with this rule, guess what comes with it? Consequences. Negative consequences most of the time when you do something you're not supposed to do. And then positive consequences are rewards when you do things that you are supposed to do. But putting those rules in place and allowing them to see them, and also holding the parents accountable too, because parents have rules also. It's not just the kids, but it's parents also who have rules. All right, chore chart. Chore chart. If you have a chore that you're supposed to complete on a specific day, complete it on that specific day. If you don't complete it on that specific day, then what happens? Adults do these things for chores. Children do these things for chores. Kids have to learn how to be responsible when they're younger. So it's okay to give them chores to do. My almost 2 year old, when he messes up something, when he throws his toys here and there and everywhere, we go up to him, hey, we're getting ready to clean up, whether we sing a song, or whether we just ask him, hey, pick this up or pick this up. Sometimes I have to go around to each thing with him, and that's okay. Sometimes I can just say, hey, I need you to clean up. And he'll start picking up stuff, or hey, I need you to take this to your kitchen set. I need you to put this in there or over there. And he's very intelligent. He listens and he does those things. I just have to be patient because he is almost just 2 years old. So sometimes, yeah, he's moving a little slow. So I'm like, okay, Tiffany, be patient, be patient. So sometimes we do have to be patient with our smaller ones, even our older ones. Just be patient, period. And some of us have it naturally, some of us don't. Conversations. What kind of conversations are we having in the home? We do want to have open communication. We want our children to be able to communicate with us openly, but what type of conversations are we having? Or if your kid heard something from somebody else down the street and they come in the house and they start having those conversations, how do you handle those things? Consequences. As I mentioned before, you have negative consequences and you have positive consequences. Those negative consequences, most of the time, look like taking something from somebody or not allowing them to do something, being consistent with those consequences. Positive consequences are rewards, saying, hey, if you get 4 smiley faces within a week's time for doing ABC or for not doing ABC, then you'll be able to get this reward. Just like coming to work. If I come to work, I get a paycheck. If I don't come to work, then I can use sick time or I can use my vacation. But if I don't have sick time or vacation, then I don't get my salary that I'm used to getting. So as an adult, we have rewards and we have consequences in a negative way, or negative consequences, positive consequences. So teaching our child those things early. You and your family may be at a different place in life where the previous list I was speaking of, the plan details, you've already done that. So now you just want to look at your grows and your glows. This is a concept that I was taught from one of my sorority sisters. It's the same as pros and cons, but grows and glows, it just brings a different perspective. It makes you feel a different way, saying that, okay, these are the ways that we've been doing excellent. We've been doing great with these things. And then these things we need a little help in. And it's okay to be able to improve in these areas or need to improve in these areas. So, what are the things we already do? We already have family time. We have family time once every other month. Well, can we improve in that area? Sure, we can have family time once every month. That'll help us with our communication. That'll help us with our relationships. What other things are we doing well with? We're doing well with having an open door policy. Our kids are able to come to us and talk to us about different things. What areas can we improve in? So looking at a topic and seeing what are we doing well and what areas can we improve in. Avoid saying these things to children. Why can't you be more like such and such? You're a child. You don't have feelings. It's not that big of a deal. Boys and men don't cry because I said so. You're just like your mom or you're just like your dad. Now, if my mom and dad were like top notch people and everybody admired them, maybe as a child, I wouldn't mind someone saying that. But if I knew that my mom or dad had a negative or a bad reputation and someone compared me to them, then I wouldn't feel too good about that. Or if someone says my feelings aren't a big deal or the way I feel about it is not a big deal, they're taking away the power that I have to feel the way I feel. So we want to avoid saying those things to children, and also children not saying these things to adults either. Avoid doing these things in front of the kids. Number one, displaying a behavior you don't want repeated. Remember, we talked about leading by example? That's the exact same thing. If you don't want your children to do it, then don't do it in front of them. The next one is arguing, especially about them. If a kid hears you arguing about them, they're going to feel some type of way. Wait until the children go to bed. Talk with your spouse or your significant other or your partner about whatever you need to talk about in the privacy of another room. And the next one, discussing adult decisions. A child is not an adult and should not have adult responsibilities. So, whatever decisions you're making as an adult, discuss those somewhere else, not in front of them. Because sometimes children take those things on and they feel like they have to help with solving whatever problem there is that the adults are discussing. Again, my name is Tiffany Mills Howell. I am a licensed clinical mental health counselor, and I am also the owner of Enhance Your Life Center. So please go visit our website at www.enhanceyourlifecenter.com. After reviewing this webinar, send me an email and let me know what you think of this webinar, and let me know if there are other topics that you would like for me to discuss. Until next time.